Hello everyone. So I thought I was pretty much done with covering the Storm Shadow strike on the Minsk and the Rostov-on-Don. But yesterday, Ukraine released some information about the strike which is worth taking a look at. So Ukraine released this video, supposedly showing the wrecks burning at the harbour. What's interesting about this is that Ukraine says this video was filmed by Ukrainian Special Forces operatives in Crimea and Sevastopol itself. I'll play it again without me talking, and if anyone can provide a translation, I would appreciate it a lot. So let's have a look at Ukraine's statement. This was posted on the Armed Forces Facebook page, and it's gone through Chrome's auto-translator, which hasn't done a brilliant job, which is why it says such things as the Czech Republic of Russia. That's a translation error. Russia hasn't secretly toppled Czech Republic in the night. I'll go through the statement in full and then have a look at some key bits of interest afterwards. So the statement says that SSO, Special Operations Forces, received information from several sources about the possible location of the Minsk and the Rostov-on-Don in Sevastopol. SSO operators were involved in identifying targets, directing and correcting fire, as well as recon of the enemy's operational depth. The Ukrainian Special Forces approached on boats and made the move to shore by submarine delivery. After having infiltrated, they began performing the basic part of the operation using reconnaissance equipment. They identified the targets. The group made a correction of fire and confirmed the destruction of targets, and then carried out a successful exfiltration. So it's pretty interesting stuff. Summarised, it basically says that a Special Forces team was inserted into Sevastopol by boats to illuminate both targets so Storm Shadow could hit them accurately. They confirmed the strikes and then got out of Dodge. Now, let's go through some key parts. First here, the SSO receiving information about the location of the ships. Now, I'm sure what immediately springs to mind are operatives on the ground monitoring Sevastopol and then informing Ukraine. But reality is most likely just good old basic satellite imagery. For example, this commercial satellite image from August the 24th shows the Ropucha-class ship and the Kilo submarine in dry dock at Sevastopol. And this image was bought by MT Anderson and shared on Twitter. So if regular people have access to good quality, up-to-date satellite imagery like this, then you know Ukraine will have too, and will likely have access to satellites that can take images where and when Ukraine want, rather than commercial imagery, which often relies on waiting for the satellite, making a pass and photographing that entire region, and then buying whichever images have been photographed. So I think the information given would be from satellite imagery, with Ukraine using the satellites to monitor the ships in dry dock and planning a strike. It's also possible multiple sources were used, informers and of course NATO flights over the Black Sea. But satellite is looking the most likely and likely played a key role in this. Next part here. Now, if boats are used, then it stands to reason this may be why Ukraine decided to recapture the Boyka Towers, shown to be roughly here on Google Maps. These are offshore oil platforms and would be a good staging post for an amphibious landing on Crimea. Now, the bit about submarine delivery is a mistranslation. These mean underwater devices that divers use to move around, rather than an actual submarine. So the team wasn't dropped off on shore, but rather just off the coast by boats and then made their way to shore themselves underwater, using those sort of underwater movement devices that divers use. Here's a curious bit. It says during the action, the Special Forces group made correction of fire. Now, at first, that doesn't fit what we've seen of Storm Shadow yet in Ukraine. Typically, we see Storm Shadow used to basically target GPS coordinates on large static targets like a bridge or a warehouse. But it also has a feature where it does use an infrared camera combined with target recognition algorithms, which are activated during its final target approach. So, I expect this seeker can also be used with infrared guidance, so it is possible that the Ukrainian Special Forces were there to ensure a hit by painting the target for Storm Shadow, rather than just relying on the GPS. But is that actually needed? The ships were in dry dock, the location was well known, and they were unlikely to move between the Storm Shadow launch and the impact. So sending the troops here would be a pretty big risk, albeit for a pretty big reward. But Storm Shadow could likely hit these without assistance, unless Ukraine was worried about Russia's jamming capabilities and decided guiding it in would limit the risk of Storm Shadow being jammed. Say what you will about Russia's air defences, they do have a large and capable electronic warfare force. We've seen them active in Moscow, albeit against drones rather than missiles, with some success there. And you have to think they are also very active around a key target like Sevastopol. So that could be a reason for using special forces on the ground to assist rather than relying on Storm Shadow's GPS coordinates, just on the off chance Russia did manage to jam them. Now, if this event didn't happen and Ukraine didn't land troops on Sevastopol, why claim that it did? The obvious answer would be PSYOPs. Make the Russians terrified about Ukrainian commandos landing on Crimea and getting up to mischief. Ukraine has done it before, destroying radar equipment near Cape Tarkankut. And Ukraine claiming they did the same near heavily guarded Sevastopol will certainly put the frighteners on them. The risk of commando landings will firstly force Russia to redirect soldiers to patrol the coastline and possible landing points. So any soldiers involved in this are soldiers which won't be heading to the front lines. It also forces Russia to patrol the coastline with its ships. This leaves fewer patrol ships available to escort the tankers and the cargo ships. That means Russia may have to delay tanker or cargo ship transit over the Black Sea until assets are available for escort duties, or send cargo and transit without ships as an escort. Either way will be in Ukraine's favour. It also means patrol ships will go outside the safety of Sevastopol to patrol for possible amphibious landings of the like. Outside of Sevastopol means that they're outside of the defensive booms which have been effective in stopping Ukraine's marine drones. They'll be out of the open where the marine drones can strike. And we saw a Bora-class ship that was on patrol attacked a couple of days ago. So whether this commando operation actually took place, who knows? It could have done, or it could be misinformation and psyops. I'm not going to say for definite either way. But I thought it worth taking a look at, as it's pretty interesting anyway. Now, this is the end of what I have to discuss here. But before we go, I'm going to play a message from Yuri about our ongoing fundraiser, which is doing pretty well at the moment, so thanks to everybody who has donated so far. The donation links are in the description of this video.
Dear friends, my name is Saneth and I've been living in Ukraine for the past 10 years. During this time I've made many good friends, one of which is my gym instructor, a gentleman called Yuri. At the start of the conflict, Yuri went to join the military and I decided to stay on and work as a volunteer, providing essential equipment to the front lines, to the battalion, to make sure they're fully supplied as best as I could. That meant lots of fundraising, support from different communities, etc. But we've been tremendously successful and made a huge impact for the guys at the front. We've recently finished a fundraiser with Sukhomimos, and a couple of days ago Sukhomimos very kindly broadcast our thank you message from the battalion, so hopefully you caught that. I'm here to ask for support for what is essentially a bit of a boring topic. The utility vehicles inside the battalion have taken damages, they need repairs, maintenance, broken engines, broken gearboxes, nothing colourful or fancy, but there's a massive shortage of this stuff in Ukraine and an abundance of it in UK. So with your support, I'm planning to purchase some hardware, load it up into a Pajero around about mid-October and transport it over to Ukraine to keep these guys on the move. These utility vehicles are essential. For medical supplies, getting to the civilians, for providing food to battalions. They load them up with shells, so howitzers. Sometimes they get to the front and they're in a danger spot that they don't realise, and they need to get out real fast, and they load 10 people into the trucks and just make a run for it. So you understand the vehicles are critical, but they also wear out quite quickly. Below is a link to my to a crowdfunding site, a third-party crowdfunding site, and also I think we're going to include PayPal in this. So with your continued support, let's try and get this over the line and help those boys out. They are making the ultimate sacrifice in large numbers, and this is not just a local problem out in East Europe. This is a problem that affects us all everywhere. So with your very kind support, we can continue this fight and bring this conflict to a successful conclusion. Thank you.